founder, CEO, and principal designer of Shades of Grey Design Studio, and we are a boutique interior design firm here in San Antonio, Texas. And
Okay,
we deal primarily with residential clients, and so yeah, that's what we do.
awesome. And then remind me about how long you have had your firm.
So I hit 7 years this past January. So we're probably at about the 7.5 year mark. So started in 2018, right after I retired.
Okay, awesome. And then also thank you for your service. So
Thank
tell us just a
you.
little bit about serving in the military.
Yeah, so oh my goodness, it seems to be definitely a conversation starter. I think people are not expecting that, especially, I'm like, hey, I'm an interior designer. But I also used to be in the Air Force for 20 years. And then when I say I'm retired, I feel extremely old. But it's true. So I came into the military shortly after high school. I would say probably about a year after. Was not necessarily what I wanted to do, but my wonderful dad told me I needed to figure it out and hey, what do you want to do? He was also in the military. He was in the Navy for
Okay.
21 years, so I was a military brat, what they call a military brat. And he was more concerned about stability and, what are you going to do? How are you going to get money? Things like that. And so he went and took me around to different recruiters. I remember speaking to the Air Force recruiter, and I was like, yeah, I think if I had to pick any branch of service, it would be Air Force. My dad did not want me to be on a Navy ship for 6 months or longer at a time with a bunch of dudes. He wasn't having that. So yeah, I went into the Air Force, thought it was going to be a quick 4 year thing. I was actually a medic. I was a registered EMT during that time. Did that for about 5.5 years. And then I did what we call in the military crossing over to the dark side. I got my commission. So the Air Force paid for me to get my degree. Then I got commissioned via ROTC, and got commissioned as a second lieutenant. Yeah, and just did all the things. 4 years turned into 20. I don't know what happened. But it was crazy because I would say probably towards the later part of my career was when I um, really started thinking seriously about getting into design. I feel like I have the same story that a lot of designers have where they're younger and they rearrange their rooms and they're very aware about how things look and different places you go to and you're admiring the decor and the architectural details. And so that started at a very young age. And my mom I think she just thought I was being a girl. But I was very particular about how I wanted my room design and all those crazy things. But yeah, I decided I would say probably about 2 years before I knew I was ready to retire, that I was gonna start my own business. I actually started out doing staging and redesign. And I only did that for probably about a year and realized this is not what I want to do. And nothing against that. I know stagers that and they're amazing and phenomenal at what they do, but for me, I'm like I want to create a space. Like I don't want to try to appease the masses. I want to create something very unique and special for the people that are actually going to live in their home and enjoy their home. So that's when I pivoted. And I actually, I don't know how long you want me to talk about this,
You're fine.
but anyway, so yeah, I decided to, at the time I was still on active duty, so I knew that I couldn't go to design school traditionally. I did actually, um, I was going to try to do it anyway. I just was like, I'm going to figure out a way. At the time, we had an Art Institute of San Antonio campus here. It recently closed. But at the time, it was up and running, and I enrolled. Being in the military allows for you to, tuition assistance, and they end up paying for stuff, and they give you like scholarship, like all these types of really great incentives. So I used that, took advantage of that, enrolled into an interior design program. There's a 4 year interior design program. And I quickly realized that I could only do like the online portion of the program, but once it got to the part where I needed to be in the classroom, I was flying on a military aircraft every month doing inspections. It just wasn't going to work. My boss was never going to let me take leave that often every week to be in class. And so I'm like, I tried. I found this interior design program through the New York Institute and Design, and I could do it by correspondence. And that's how I ended up taking my RIDQC, getting certified, and all that good stuff. So once I did that, I made that huge pivot into focusing strictly on interior design, and the rest is history. So, and I'm
So it
loving
sounds like you were able to kind of jump from retirement into your business full time. Like there wasn't any kind of leeway into, did you do any other type of jobs to kind of hold you over, or
I
was it
did.
even necessary?
No, it was. It was. I did actually I was trying, I had the carrot dangled in front of my face, so to speak, when I was retiring, trying to get me back into working for the Department of the Air Force, but as a civilian. And I said, no, I think I'm done. I enjoyed my career. It was an amazing experience, but I just was ready to do what I wanted to do, what I was absolutely passionate about doing. But I knew I still needed to pay the bills. Um, Sole breadwinner in my house. And so that made it quite challenging. And so I was like, okay, we still need to have income in. Now, I'm very blessed that I have a retirement. I also have disability coming in, so I do have supplemental income that helps tremendously. But also, I went back. I didn't work for the Air Force, but I worked for a contractor that supported the Air Force as a contractor. So I did not wear the uniform. I didn't work directly for the Air Force, but I did go and work at the Defense Health Agency for a little bit. I was getting six figures. I was getting paid very, very well. Um, but to do something that my heart wasn't in, if that makes sense. I was very grateful because, like I said, I needed to pay the bills, but it just wasn't what I felt like I was meant to do, and what I was, what I wanted to do. But I did that for probably maybe 2 years post retirement. Even though like I said, I'd started my business, but I still had, the side job of, still, making income elsewhere, until I could start, building the business. And I was very prayerful about it and was like, Lord, let me know when it's time for me to do this. I want to be wise. I want to use wisdom. And so I did. I think I did it for maybe, like I said, about 2 years after I retired,
Okay.
and decided to take the leap of faith. And I quit my job and I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do? What do I do? And I will tell you, I took a significant pay cut. A significant, because you got to think, I didn't have, my pipeline wasn't, steady, right? I didn't have just all these projects coming my way, right? And so I was like, how am I going to do this? So it was challenging. It was a struggle. And that's, you get to a point where you're like, I'm taking anything that comes my way. So, to my own detriment. But that's, hey, that's how you learn and that's how you figure out who you want to work with. So yeah.
So talk to us a little bit. Where did the name for the firm, where did Shades of come from? I'm just curious, like,
Well,
because usually it's like designed by so and so, so and so.
yeah.
Like, where did I love that you have a name that it's not just Melissa Fields.
Thank you, Miss Lindsay, because and again, this is not a knock towards anybody. There's no like wrong way to do this. You got to do what works for you. Excuse me, I did not want to name my firm after me because number one, because I feel like everybody does it. And then number two, because what if I'm thinking crazy, right? But what if I down the road want to branch out into something else that's still connected to design, but it doesn't lock me in to that. And I didn't want it to just I didn't want it to be the Melissa show. It is my firm, right? But I was like, I don't need to have my name plastered everywhere. Um, So the name Shades of Grey Design, not what most people think. It's so funny because when people see the name, I'm just like, yeah, no, I don't provide those type of services. So please don't get it twisted. My husband actually came up with it, which ironically, he can't stand the movie. The movies, I never read the books. I saw the movies. They were okay, but he just abhors them. But he said there's a reason. So we were out to lunch one day, still wearing the uniform. I remember we were at Panera Bread. I was about 2 years out, and I told him, I think I want to take the leap of faith and do this and start my own company. And he was like, wow, cool. He's like, babe, I'm super happy for you. He's like, have you thought of a name? And I was like, I haven't gotten that far yet. He's like, well, I have one. And I was like, I was like, how do you have one? He like immediately, but he's like, hear me out. He goes, I think it should be Shades of Grey Design. And I'm like, and I'm literally like dumbfounded. I'm like, why? And he's like, well, two reasons. Number one, he goes, I remember you saying you like the color gray because there's so many different shades and tones of it, right? You can go like super light and then super dark, like and everything in between. But then it also is telling of the different types of styles and designs that you can do, right? It's not just one design or one size fits all. And I'm like, you get a gold star, sir. And so I was actually proud of him. I was shocked, but I was proud of him. And so I thought, okay, I think that'll work. And so yeah, that just became that. I just added studio at the end of it just so, it could sound a little fancier, I guess. But yeah, that's how Shades of Grey Design Studio was birthed by my husband. Of all people.
So your journey from Air Force to interior design is very inspiring. You've shared a little bit about that with us, but can you share how your 20 years of service kind of helped shape the designer and businesswoman you are today?
Oh wow, that's a great question. Wow, I would say for sure, without a doubt, the structure, the discipline. I always say running your own business, whether it's interior design or whatever industry, it's not for the faint of heart. And so definitely being in the military has taught me discipline, structure, systems, and processes like you would not believe. The Air Force ran everything through checklists. And then I've said this before. When you're in, the military, sometimes it is a matter of life and death. Design is not that serious, right? It's not a matter of life and death. I mean, I know some people act like it is sometimes, but it's really not when you see that side of it. It taught me so much. So I gained all of these tools, put it in my toolbox, and was able to open up the toolbox and pull out those tools and use them to run my company. And I still use those tools to today. I mean, managing projects. I was actually a warranted contracting officer when I was on active duty as an officer, meaning we are the only ones who can obligate the government. So that taught me so much on how to manage projects, how to manage high dollars. I mean, you're talking multi-million dollar contracts, weapon systems, construction, services, supplies. How could I not apply that to what I do in interior design? We're dealing with products. We're providing a service to our clients, right? We have to have a process. I use systems every day. If I didn't, I would pull my hair out. Clients probably would not hire us because we look like we don't have a clue what we're doing. I always say every project's different, but the process remains the same. And so, yeah, the military has, my goodness, has given me those tools to help me get to where I am today and hopefully continue to get me to the next level as well. So I'm extremely grateful for that experience.
Awesome. You lead every project with heart, honesty, excellence, authenticity, reliability, and teamwork. How did this core philosophy, which I love that it's on your website too, come to life at Shades of Grey, and how do you see it play out with your clients?
Well, heart. I recently just did some revamping of my brand messaging. I really needed to do that. And so I made the investment and hired somebody to help me with that. Change the copy on my website for that. And as we were going through, I don't know if I can say who I hired, but Deb Mitchell, she's amazing. I love her. She really, really helped me figure out. I think it's hard for us to kind of toot our own horns and try to figure out what sets me apart from everybody else. And so I really needed somebody to kind of walk me through that, kind of hold my hand, and help me navigate that. And so what we found was I do. I feel like with everything I do, I always say my heart kind of gets in the way. That can be a really good thing, but then it can be a negative thing too, right? Because that's how, I think people take advantage of you, or you end up sometimes leaving money on the table as a designer because you're like, oh, I just want to help this person. I don't want to have to say, oh, that's going to be more money and more time and all that, right? I've gotten better, so I don't say that anymore, but that's kind of what I struggled with in the beginning. So heart, first of all, I love what I do, but I have a heart for people. I just love people. I may not like, attitudes, personalities sometimes, right? But that's just human, being human. But I do love people. I love that connection. And so I feel like when I work with my clients, I feel like a lot of them become family in a sense, right? You're spending so much time with them. You're going into some very personal areas of their life. I mean, we're in their homes, we're in their bedrooms, we're in, the spaces that they're making memories and where they're living their lives. So that's just for me. And then the integrity part of it too. Being in the military, I was also raised that way. Again, my dad coming from the Navy, he instilled that in myself and my brother from the very beginning. And so I really apply that to what I do every day and how I, work with my clients. And I want to be reliable. I want them to, we have to gain their trust, right? So if we're going into the most personal spaces of their lives, there has to be some trust there, right? And I also believe that we need to do what we say we're going to do, right? That's part of the integrity. That's part of, really showing the type of human being that you are, your character, and things like that. I don't ever want to tell my clients I'm going to do something and not do it. And that's where the communication comes in. So that's why I say, I lead with heart, not necessarily like again, like not in a bad way. Some people may think of it that way, but I think it's a good way because clients, they don't want a transaction. I think they want an experience. And so, they kind of want that relationship with their designer. I would say, maybe not everybody, but I think most of the clients I've had, they appreciate that experience. They appreciate not feeling like they're just another client or they're just another person.
So, kind of staying in that wheelhouse, how do you get inside of a client's mindset to really help them capture their personality so that they know how to bring that to a space and really make it their home, their space, their project that they can, fall in love with then and stay in love with?
Sure. I listen. I think active listening is crucial. I'll give you an example. One of our clients, we just recently finished a project with them. And one of the things that she said when we presented the final design plan to her, she got emotional and she said, Melissa, you listened and heard everything I said. She said, you addressed things that I actually forgot I even told you. I needed, which I get it. We're all busy, right? But she said, you really listened and you made it our home. You didn't make it about you. You truly listened to what we said we needed. Um, and on top of that, you made it beautiful, right? So it wasn't just that it was beautiful, but it was everything and more, that we wanted. And so I was like, so now she's getting emotional. I'm trying not to cry. Here we are, all cry babies, sitting here in this presentation, but that meant the world to me. And that's why I listen. I'm constantly, I'm taking copious notes. I'm listening in on key things, on true pain points, and I'm thinking like, okay, how can we provide a solution to that? How can we make their lives easier? So I really do. I know it sounds so cliche, but it's so true. And I think as human beings, we try to do it, but we don't always get it right. We
Mhm.
think we're listening, and then we're just like, because we're already developing in our heads kind of like what the comeback is going to be, what the response is going to be, instead of just being quiet and really listening to the client. So I feel like that's what I do. I listen to key things, favorite destinations, favorite, what do they love to drink in the morning? Like what brings them joy? Like, so I'm like taking these notes down and then incorporating it somehow during the design process, whether it's a gift, right, to a client, it's unexpected. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm like, here's, your, favorite, tea or whatever. You said that you want to be able to sit in your new space and drink your favorite tea. And they're like, I don't even remember telling you that that's what that's what I like. You know what I'm saying? So it's things like that. It's the details, I think, and just really getting those details by listening. So I don't think it's like rocket science. I don't have like this amazing like formula that I use. I just think I just try to kind of shut my mouth and really let them talk, and then you find out what they like and what they don't like if you just listen.
So you've been featured in outlets like HGTV, Southern Living. Congratulations. What has that kind of exposure meant for your business? And what's maybe one lesson you learned from being in that spotlight? Like,
First, I will say I don't really feel like I'm in the spotlight. I mean, I honestly, I think it's great. I think it's great that they would even, outlets will take your quotes, right, or take your images and publish that and things like that, right? Even on a small scale, I'm extremely grateful for that opportunity. I will say that that's probably in a small way led me to be able to be the interior designer that our local news company comes to. Matter of fact, one of the executive producers just texted me the other day asking, hey, Melissa, we'd love for you to come, be a part of our summer home show. They actually contacted me. They said they saw me on Instagram and then they went to my website. And I'm like, and I'm thinking, I was like, who? I'm not really that. I'm not one of those people that are out front like that. I'm like, I'm really nobody. Like, not to be mean, but
yeah,
to myself, but I'm just saying, I'm like, I don't, nobody really knows me. So I'm just kind of like, I was taken aback by that. So I feel like those types of things kind of help, um maybe put a couple of stars around your name in terms of, oh, wow, she's been able to do little things like that. We'd love to have her on, so she can share her, whatever design approach or what trends are going on for the summer and things like that. And so I think this will be like my sixth or seventh time on their it's called Great Day SA, and so it's a morning show here on Ken's 5 in San Antonio. And so and it's great, and I feel like it's great exposure. However, I've had people, start following me on Instagram. They'll DM me on Instagram, ask about, what services we offer, what do we charge, or they might have questions about, oh my gosh, I love the fabric of the pillows that you showed on the show this morning. Can you tell us, more about that or where you got that? I'm like, sure, yeah. I mean, anything to kind of help out. So, well, I don't feel ever look at myself as for sure being in the spotlight at all, but I'm very grateful for the opportunities
yeah.
that
And
I'm
it's great
getting.
to be a part of such a large market like San Antonio and be able to
Oh,
just kind of be recognized among the designers in that area. So it's really neat that people
absolutely.
turn to you for that support.
Yeah, it's great. It's really cool. Very cool.
What's one of the most memorable or creatively challenging products you've taken on recently?
Um, wow, that's another great question. One that I would say one that pops up into my head immediately when you said like challenging
Mhm.
was a client. We were doing a few spaces in their house. They want to do it in phases. So this was like phase one. So we did living room, dining room, and then home office. In their living room, I had proposed to completely redo their fireplace. It was very traditional and she wanted it a little bit more contemporary feeling. And so I immediately knew what I wanted to use, the material that I wanted to use. I wanted to use um, Cosentino's Decton. And there was this, it was called Decton Yukio, and it was this amazing material that I'd been wanting to use for so long. And I was like, this is the perfect project to use it on. Long story short, we did it, the clients loved it. Um, but it was like it took forever because the fabricator did not lay out the panels. They weren't regular slabs of porcelain. They were in like smaller panels. So when it's installed, it looks like it's a solid piece, but it's not. It's like several panels. They didn't lay it out ahead of time. And so when it was installed, I go do a site visit and you have darker pieces, lighter pieces, and I'm talking fully installed, grout, everything, all the way up to the ceiling. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, what the heck is going on? Then because I'm so OCD, I take a closer look. The grout lines are not, um, they're not straight. They
Mm.
start thin and they started to go really wide. And I thought, what is going on? They're going to have to tear this out and do it again. So, what was supposed to be a shorter timeline now increased it by at least a couple months. I mean, it was just off of that. We had everything else in place, everything else was good to go. I think we might have still been waiting on a couple of custom pieces, but the fireplace was delaying the project because oh, Melissa, we're sorry. We probably should have laid this out. I'm like, you didn't lay it out? I thought you guys said you were going to, why? So that to me, it just having to go back to the client and say, listen, this is not right. They're going to have to tear it out and they're going to have to put it back in. They're going to make it right. They actually had to order more pieces. They had to eat the cost because I was like, my client's not going to pay for this. This was on you guys. You guys are going to have to make it right. So I would say that was probably one of the most recent things that were very challenging for me because I'm trying to play, I'm the middleman here and I'm trying to keep my clients happy, but I want to maintain a good relationship with our fabricator because we've used them on other projects. But this was like a huge like faux pas, right? This was like a huge thing. And so it wasn't a good look, but I think because we were able to troubleshoot, you know, talk the clients off the ledge a little bit, we ended up, it ended up being a win-win and we ended up getting it right and it's beautiful. It turned out beautiful, but that was very challenging for me. I got very frustrated. I usually try to, keep my cool. I was extremely frustrated because I just didn't understand why they wouldn't do something like this when they do this kind of stuff every day, why you would miss a whole step in laying out the panels to make sure that, or even when you get the material in, that you look and notice and you inspect and say, hey, some of these are these from a different dye lot? Are these, why are some of these pieces darker than the other piece? Why didn't we fix this in the beginning instead of after you installed it? So that to me, I mean, it was very nerve-wracking to say the least. But like I said, it ended up turning out beautifully. But it was just I could tell my client's husband was just getting he was getting irritated and they're a little older and stuff like that. But it was just, but they were very gracious and they were very patient and stuff. But it was very frustrating. And oh, on top of that, they kept using the wrong color grout. So it's just, it was just one thing after another. And I'm just like, you guys, you're killing me. So yeah, very challenging to say the least. But like I said, we got through it. So.
And I think for you, you
Whew.
mentioned integrity. It's about going back to that piece of the puzzle for your business. Like you say, you're going to deliver a product in this way, and you want it to be done that way. You don't want to kind of half ass it. Sorry, the word.
Yes.
You don't
Yeah,
want to do that.
exactly.
You say that you're going to deliver the product, and you were able to do that. It took more time, but you didn't just kind of settle for it. You made sure it was right in the long run.
Absolutely. That's exactly it. We made sure that it was done right. Yeah.
Now you talked a little bit about this, your transition from military service to the design world, But were there any like specific like defining moments for you that kind of said, "Hey, this is what Melissa needs to do"?
You know, oh man, just thinking about that question, I don't know if there was really like a defining moment that I can specifically go back to. I just knew when I was on active duty, though I did my job very well, and I wasn't doing a job that I loved to do. And I always tell people this, the Air Force was never going to pay me to remodel spaces, which they should have. Trust me. I've seen some terrible, terrible buildings and rooms. I was just like, come on, you guys have all this big budget and you can't even revamp some stuff. So anyway, um, I think I just knew. I knew that I was creative. And I feel like when you're in the military, especially being in contracting, it's very, you have rules and regulations that you live by. Remember going back to the checklists and the structure and the processes. There's really no room for creativity. You're talking about contracts, right? You're talking about what's in black and white. I just knew that I wasn't living in my full potential doing that. Like I said, I was good at what I did. I knew the regulations, I knew the law. I knew what I was supposed to do. I could do contracting in my sleep, but it just was so meh to me. There was no joy. Again, I was proud to be a part of the team and to do what I do or do what I did, but I just wasn't letting the creative juices flow and wanting to, create these beautiful spaces and connect with clients and real people and things like that. And so it was very, I'm in my cubicle all day long. I was in what was called Cube City, and
Thank
we
you.
were just cranking out, yes, and it was just cranking out contracts and being in meetings, and it just wasn't me. And but I knew when I would be in spaces and places where there was creativity and I could just be at home sketching something, or I would go on a vacation with my husband and we'd go into these beautiful hotels. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, look at this wall. And like, this is what I'm talking about. My husband's like, can we like go get something to eat? And I'm just like, but I'm looking at things and the details and stuff, and I'm just seeing my face light up. And I'm like, this is what I want to do. But then I'm getting ready. I'm putting my uniform on in the morning. I'm going into my cubicle and I'm like, so, so I don't know if I might have had defining moments almost every day, probably. And then leading up to my, probably within the past, I would say like 5 years leading up to my when I was going to retire. I think every day, I always tell people when it stops becoming fun, and I don't want to go to work anymore, and I just don't want to do that anymore. That's when I just knew. I was just like, I can't, I'm proud to wear this uniform, and I love the people that I've been connected to, and I love serving my country and, just being of service, period. But I was like, this is just, again, my heart's not in it, and there's something missing. There's just something missing. There's this void, and it's just, I'm not going to fill it here.
Well, kind of stay in that same realm. What advice, like what maybe one piece of advice might you have for someone who is either active military or maybe they are looking to retire soon or a veteran and they want to get into a creative space like design? What kind of advice might you give him or her?
I would definitely say if you want to go into a creative space and you are in the military, you're in a different industry that's not creative, still do things outside of your daily job and your daily mission of being in the military or whatever else you're doing, and still connect to that creative side of your brain. Still do the things that you love. You might not get paid to do them right then and there, and you might not be able to do that every day, but still stay connected to the thing that brings you joy, that creative space, so that you know that you're not going to be in the military forever. So when you have your second career. You have that life outside of the military or whatever other industry, because a lot of designers come from corporate, right? And this is their second or third career. You have that. You can still maintain that connection. You can still go into it and not feel like, man, because I'm going to tell you, I felt some type of way. I kind of felt a little insecure, and I kind of doubted myself because I thought, who's going to take me seriously when I say, number one, I didn't go to interior design school and, check all the boxes and do it the traditional way. And oh, by the way, I was in the Air Force for the last 20 years. But hey, let me design your house, right?
Yeah.
So I was carrying that, and I was like, ooh, I was doubting myself. I felt a little discouraged. I'm like, how am I going to do this? Like, who's gonna hire me? And so I had to battle. I was like in my own head and my own feelings and stuff. So what I would say is, don't let yourself get in the way of what you truly want to do. You know that there's going to be a part two of your life outside of the military or whatever other, industry that you're in. So stay connected while you're getting the paycheck, while you're doing the mission, but do it well. Like I said, I still came in and I gave 100% every single day. You won't ever run into somebody that won't tell you, Melissa, like, she gave it all. She did what she could, and she gave her very best every day, even though it wasn't what I wanted to do, but I still came and I showed up. And that's the other thing. Keep showing up, keep showing up. And then, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And my light came, and then I jumped right into it.
Yeah.
And I didn't hesitate, even with all the doubt, even with all the insecurity, even with all the uncertainty. I just still took that leap of faith and I did it anyway.
Now, as far as kind of speaking of that doubt piece of it, but when you with you earning your RIDQC, did that kind of help bump up your confidence and maybe your purpose and being able to be successful in this creative space that you aspired to be a part of?
Absolutely. I will tell you, um, though I did not go to interior design school and, get registered and all that stuff, um, it was a personal choice to still get certified in residential interior design. I will tell you, I have not, in the 7.5 years I've been doing this, I have not had one single client ask me, hey, Melissa, before we hire you, tell us what design school you went to. Tell us what degree you have. Tell us what your credentials are, right? They want to know, can you do the work? I want to look at your portfolio. What is your process? How would we work with you? Right? All of those things. So it was a personal choice for me to do that because, yes, it helped me gain so much more confidence because I'm like, okay, even though I'm not going to, a 4-year interior design program, going through NYID and then actually sitting down and taking an exam to get the RIDQC and getting that certification was like, you know what? But it does give me some cred. You know, no one may ask me, but I know, right? I know. And I think it gives other people confidence. So I have it, on my website. I say I'm a certified, interior designer and all that stuff or whatever. And I think that bumps it up a little bit, right? Because people are like, okay, she had to do something, to get that. But for me, personal confidence of at least I have a foundation, right? I have a foundation. I've learned something. I know I've been blessed with, given the eye to do what I do, but it's so much more than just having an eye, right? I have the passion, but you still need to know something. You still need to have a foundation. And so I feel like, getting certified in that it really helped give me that foundation and the confidence for me, not necessarily for everyone else. But man, if that kind of ticks the box a little, takes me to the next little level there, in prospective clients' eyes, then hey, I'm all for it. It was worth it. It was worth every moment. I'm so glad that I did it. It's amazing.
Um, so what are your personal design inspirations right now? Any colors, materials, or trends that you're really loving that you may not necessarily be embracing and throwing out there with all your designs, but maybe you're kind of looking at them to see how you can throw them in somewhere at some point.
No, that actually that's great because my assistant and I were talking about this yesterday, and we were like, man, you just need to go to our Instagram because we've been really. It's funny because we've been posting exactly what you asked, like, hey, this is what we're seeing for like summer. Like I'm like feeling, the linens, the lighter, fabrics, and just the lighter color woods and just but then those fresh pops of color that are real bright and just things like that. So I love kind of those seasonal type feels. So like, and like I said, the summer's lighter and stuff, but I like going into fall, like, maybe those thicker fabrics, they're more luxurious, the velvets and things like that. But I will say something that I have been obsessed with, and I actually used this material in a recent project, but I can't get enough of it. I want to continue to keep using it in future projects. Kyle Bunting, they're actually out of Austin, Texas, and they do Italian cowhide in every single color you can absolutely think of. We used it in a mural. I haven't posted any photos of this yet. I'm actively pitching to some publications, but in the home office, we did a mural in 5 different shades of green because the office is very monochromatic, but it's gorgeous. But the mural is about 6 feet, 5 or 6 feet wide, and maybe about 5 feet tall, but it's of the Amalfi Coast. It's our client's favorite destination. It is absolutely stunning, and it's all in Italian cowhide. And we installed it behind their custom built-ins, and then you can see a large part of it behind. We did a whole window seat that outlays the perimeter of the whole area. And then you have shelves, and then you have some drawers. All of it was custom, but you look at the Amalfi Coast, so you've got the mountainside where you have all of the homes, then it spans out into the ocean. So it's just this continuous mural, but it's all in Italian cowhide. So when people walk in, they're like touching it and they're like, what is this? They're like, when I tell you, Lindsay, I'm obsessed with it. And so it's not cheap, but it's so beautiful and it adds so much texture and color and interest to a space that it's just amazing. I mean, you can put it on furniture, you can put it on area rugs, wall coverings, the ceiling. It's phenomenal. So that is what I'm currently obsessing over, and I'll probably be obsessing over it for a long time. So it's just I love different materials. I love, things that you wouldn't even think of, like you're thinking cowhide, like really, like yes. And so I like to use unexpected materials and things like that in each of our designs just to kind of like pique the interest. And oh my goodness, what is that? So I like the questions because then I get to talk about it.
Well, those are all my questions. Is there anything that you would maybe hope to share with us, Melissa, either personally or professionally or with regards to the design that I didn't ask you about?
No, I think the only thing that I would like to share is, and it's kind of like a almost kind of a revelation, a recent revelation or epiphany that I've had is that in the 7.5 years that I've been doing this, I thought for so long that I needed to have like this huge team behind me, right? And I don't. It's myself and my assistant. And I always say, we might be tiny, but we're mighty, right? I use that. And it's just as I'm learning and I'm meeting more people and connecting with, different people, everybody's doing this design thing differently, right? And like I said, you got to do what works for you. And I love all of it, right? I think it's great whether you have a team of 50 or you have a team of one. I mean, I used to be a team of one for a long time. But I think one of the things that really struck me was that I don't know why in the beginning I thought, oh my gosh, Melissa, you got to grow this team. You got to have like, 5 people, 10 people, like, and I'm like, what made me think that? And so now I'm thinking, I'm looking at the things that we're getting done just with us two. And I'm like, wow, we're doing some really incredible things. We're working on incredible projects, and it's just us two. It's a lot of work, but I guess I would want other designers to know who maybe are just the team of one right now, or they're feeling like, they need to have this like superhero team, behind them. And if that's what they want to do, that's great. If that's the goal, then absolutely more power to you, go for it. But I don't want people to think that is the norm. Like that you have to have that in order to be successful or have a business that's thriving or to have clients, hire you. They want to know, can you do the work? Do you have a process in place? Are you listening to me? Are you making it about you? Or are you actually giving us something that we need that's going to make our lives better? Are you, I don't want you to just come in here and make it beautiful. Like, does it make sense? And if you can do that on your own, if you can do it with another person, whether it's a virtual assistant, whether it's somebody in house, I'm so blessed to have somebody in house um, that helps me with that. But whatever that looks like for you, like let it be that. Like, don't, for me, for the longest time, I was comparing myself, and it was truly robbing my joy. And I think that's what probably was holding me back. I was the one that was holding myself back. Nobody else was. I was, because I let what everybody else was doing distract me. And so now I'm just like, I feel more comfortable in my own skin. I'm not quite there yet, right? And we're always learning, and I'm always, wanting to learn more and know more. And but I also want to, be able to stop and just enjoy what I have right in front of me, and not keep looking for what's the next thing, what's the next thing, what's the next thing. Because I think that kind of robs us of our peace and just kind of, what the successes that we already have. And so my successes aren't going to be what somebody else's successes are, and that's okay. So I guess that's kind of what I would just want to
I
kind of
like
leave with
that.
somebody, that because I wish, I had somebody telling me that, so, kind of talk me off the ledge a little bit and say, Melissa, like breathe, like calm down. It's not, you're getting a little crazy here. So, I just kind of want to leave, that for people who might be struggling with that. So,
Awesome. Well, I'll definitely add it.
okay. Yeah, thank you.
It's
Okay.
been an absolute pleasure to chat with you. And
Thank you, Lindsay, again for your time. I know you're so busy, so I appreciate you, absolutely adore you guys, and thank you for the opportunity. I just want to say a big, huge thank you to you guys. I really, really appreciate the
well,
opportunity.
it's a
Thank you.
pleasure, and it was lovely getting to learn more about you and like poking around on the website and everything. So
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
very glad that I was able to do this. So
Yay. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and y'all enjoy your weekend. And yeah, hope to talk to you guys soon.
awesome. Thank you, Melissa. Have a good one.